We are constantly being told that real estate investors are high-powered tycoons that are ruling the world. From business deals in Dubai to super yachts in the Mediterranean, real estate always seems like the way to go to achieve crazy financial freedom. But that's like some mega monopoly version where you buy yachts and skyscrapers. And if you're just starting out from go, how would you even make your way from paying rent to instead collecting rent, trading in your houses for hotels or apartment complexes, and then maybe skyscrapers and yachts? So let's play Monopoly. Imagine that you're at go on your real estate journey. You've got no connections in the Maldives, so you've got to start without owning any real estate or having any special investor collections. What would you do to reach financial freedom? The rules do allow you to use your current savings, your current job, and the support of people that you know personally. This isn't a, if you were literally an orphan with no money or support, what would you do situation. You might not have the perfect real estate resources, but you can look at your life, find what resources you have, and do what you can. This is where I was 4 years ago before I grew my real estate portfolio while sharing details on this channel. And back then, I was just graduated from college and I was getting interested in real estate investing. Well, first I was interested in being a WNBA player, but then that dream tore apart, literally. And then I was a Harlem Globetrotter, and then the pandemic hit, so it was back to real estate. Anyway, there are a lot of ways to get started, but the first thing I considered, and you should too, is how you can make a $10,000 impact on your net worth. And you can consider two ways to do this, either by lowering your expenses by $10,000 or raising your income by $10,000. It's not that $10,000 is going to complete your financial freedom journey. It's just the first step on that path. And I think $10,000 is the perfect sweet spot where it's hard enough that you have to actually prove you want to be in real estate and you're willing to do the work, but it's not so hard that you need crazy good connections or starting capital to get it done. I went the route of lowering my expenses by $10,000. This meant house hacking, which is when you buy a house for yourself and then you rent out the extra space to offset or even cover your expenses. I'm going to make a list of advantages, and if you have any of these, you might consider this an option. And if you don't, I have some other options as well. My house hack was a 2-story property that could function as a single family property, or it could function as a duplex. And I had good credit, but I didn't have 2 years of job history. I had about $20,000 worth of savings from jobs that I had in high school and college, and my parents were able to co-sign for me, even though they didn't need to put any money into the deal. Now, some people are going to say, oh, that's it, turn off the video. She said she had a co-signer. That's not going to work for me. I get it. Not everyone has the same option. But remember, I said that this process is about using what you personally have. I'm sharing the advantages that I had and encouraging you to think creatively to figure out which ones you have as well. If qualifying for the loan is an issue for you, there are other options. And if you still want a house hack, you can look for owner finance deals, which I'll explain more of in another video. But basically, owner financing lets you bypass using a bank to get the money. Instead, you give the owner a small down payment that you agree on, and then you pay back the remainder of the purchase price in monthly payments. Now, it's similar to what you would do with the bank, but it allows you to own the property without the bank's rigid guidelines because it's an agreement between you and the seller directly. Now, regardless of how you get the house, you then have to decide what space you're going to keep for yourself and what you're going to rent out. For me, that meant living in one unit and renting out the others. For some, that might mean living in one bedroom and renting out the other 3 plus the basement. As a general rule of thumb though, the more private space you want for yourself, the less rental income you're going to get, and vice versa. So plan wisely based on how much money you're trying to make. But even if you could go from currently renting a $2,000 apartment and to instead owning a house that brings in $1,500 of rental income, you'd have just $500 left in payments to cover at the end of the month. And then I would recommend you set aside another $500 for repairs and maintenance, and you'll still have $1,000 more in the bank each month than you had previously. In less than a year, you'll have removed $10,000 from your living expenses, you'll be building equity in the property, and maybe most importantly, you'll have some experience under your belt as both a homeowner and a real estate investor. But if that's too slow, or if house hacking doesn't work for you because you refuse to share a toilet with strangers, I totally get it, and there are other options. I use this particular strategy after house hacking, but you could jump straight to it, and it's called wholesaling. Quick interruption because I want us to talk. Well, actually, I want you to listen in to the conversations that I'm having with the best business minds out there. My new podcast called Listen In with Lily Invests is going big. For those of you who are not just interested in real estate, but all of the ways that you can reach financial freedom, this show is for you. Each week, you'll get to listen in as I get elite entrepreneurs to reveal the secrets to their financial success and how they master the operations and growth of their businesses. You can find the podcast here on YouTube and wherever you listen to podcasts. Now back to the video. Wholesaling has a complicated reputation, but the general idea is that wholesalers are professional deal finders. They find the person who needs to sell, find the person who needs to buy, and then they connect the two and take a fee for their work. The wholesaler never actually owns the property, and therefore this is one of the lowest risk ways that you could make your first $10,000 in real estate. And this is what I did on my first 10 or so deals after house hacking. But low risk doesn't mean no risk, and it definitely doesn't mean no work. I made this video last week about the lessons I learned at each level of real estate investing, and the ones that I learned during wholesaling were actually the most important, so I'll link it in the description for you to watch next. But once you know what red flags to look out for, wholesaling can be a great option, because finding great deals and getting them to the closing table is one of the hardest parts of real estate investing, which is why good wholesalers are in high demand and get paid well. But bad wholesalers are very quickly shunned and exiled, hence why I say the reputation can be complicated. So if you want to make sure you've got all your ducks in a row before you start making wholesale offers, definitely go watch last week's video on the lessons I learned. And you can also check out this free training I did on the 7 myths that people believe about wholesaling. This way you don't start going down the wrong road and make a mistake that's tough to recover from. I'll put the link to the YouTube video and to that free training in the description. At this point in the Monopoly game, you've passed go a couple of times, you've started to make some money, and you're thinking about how you can stop landing on other people's properties and paying rent and instead start buying some houses for yourself. What I did was take the income that I earned from wholesaling, making $5,000 to $15,000 per deal, and I used that to buy my own rental properties through something called the BRRRR method. But this is how I moved to collecting houses on the Monopoly board. But of course, there are more levels. I will link to this video in the description if you want a full breakdown of all the numbers on my first BRRRR deal. And generally, that's trading in your houses to go even bigger. And to do that, you have to start thinking about, how do I go from $10,000, $15,000 at a time to maybe $50,000 or more? And there are a couple of options for this, but the most mainstream way, the thing that we all think about when we hear real estate investing, is generally house flipping. Fix and flipping is one of the most mainstream ways to achieve real estate riches. And that's where you buy a distressed property, fix it up, and then sell it for a profit. Let's say you buy a house for $120,000 and put $35K to renovate the property. That means you're all in for $155,000 and you want to sell for $225,000. When you subtract the difference between how much the property sold for versus the money that you spent on repair, there's $70K left over, and this is where shows on HGTV stop. But there are a lot of other costs. That $70K doesn't go straight into the investor's pocket. There are the holding costs they had, like the taxes or the insurance that they had to pay while they were doing the flipping. There's closing costs when they actually go to sell the property, real estate agent fees, and more. I'll go in depth in all the costs in a future video, but know that just because real estate success through house flipping is possible, it's not easy. So taking this risk to flip a house and move up to the red hotel level on the Monopoly board is not something that you can do without having the knowledge and doing the work to do it right ahead of time. And for me, crazily enough, I actually decided to skip the house flipping phase, and I tried to go even bigger into the mega Monopoly board by buying a 33-unit apartment complex. The purchase price was $2.1 million, and I documented not just how I got the deal, but exactly how the process played out. You can watch the entire playlist by clicking right here.